Welcome back to Velshi and Rule. I am here on the beautiful campus of Georgetown University, co-moderating MSNBC's Climate Forum. Just a short time ago, I spoke with Mayor Pete Buttigieg after his time with me on stage, talking about President Trump's comments on that intelligence community whistleblower. Here's what he told me.
This is extremely disturbing. The fundamental question is, what don't they want Congress to find out? Remember, we're talking about an intelligence oversight committee with the appropriate clearances, whose very job is to oversee intelligence issues. They've been presented with an intelligence concern, and the White House is covering it up or refusing to allow them to see it. It really raises so many questions about what is happening, what they're trying to hide, and why.
The president is also talking about new sanctions on Iran's national bank. He talked the other day about imposing far more sanctions on Iran as things get hotter between Iran and Saudi Arabia and Iran and the United Nations and the United States. We're heading into this UN General Assembly week. What's your sense? Because you're somebody who has had military experience, so you're hyper conscious of getting ourselves inadvertently into wars. What's your sense of how this should go?
Well, what needs to happen is de-escalation, and it won't be easy because we've created a situation that is more unstable. When the White House pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, it set off a domino effect, and now we're living with that greater instability. And now the president is forced to choose between no good options, and he put himself in that situation. I think it appears to be that his instinct is not toward confrontation or war.
It does seem to be that way because John Bolton seems to have an instinct toward that, and the president repulsed that.
The problem is he has to choose between that and allowing the activity that's going on to continue. And the real concern is, could there be a misstep that gets this whole thing out of his control? The president seems deeply confused in his strategy on Iran. He was talking about talks with the Iranians, then he denied that was ever on the table. He went so far as to authorize an attack, then he changed his mind at the last minute. This is the last place in the world where you can go around not knowing what you're doing.
Well,
and I think the entire region is made more dangerous.
There are people who say, well, you know, if there was a war that involved Iran and the United States, obviously the United States would prevail. But we are talking about asymmetrical war now. Iran is not going to go up against the United States and do battle.
No, what's going to happen is a conflagration in the Gulf that will lead to tremendous destruction on both sides of the Gulf. You'll see harm to Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states as a proxy. You'll see harm to Iran. And whether it ever reaches U.S. shores directly, you're absolutely going to see enormous destruction, cost to human life, and a tremendous blow to the economy. Nobody wins this war. Nobody wins. And so we've got an obligation as perhaps the decisive power operating with respect to that region to make sure that it doesn't happen.
With respect to wars that nobody wins, one might apply that same logic to the trade war that we're in with China. Their economy is weakening. Our economy is weakening. There are economies in Europe that are on the brink of recession at this point. We're all slowing down. And there doesn't seem to be some clear outcome that would be a measurable success.
Well, there's no strategy. Look, I'm in many ways more hawkish on China than others in my party because I think they present a major competitive challenge from a security and economic perspective.
But we had the world on side with remedying that problem. We just need to be remedying some other problems.
We need to be partnering with an international community to make sure that international norms are respected. And that's everything from our support for democratic aspirations in Hong Kong or religious self-determination among the Uyghurs to what's going on with the economic activity and what's happening in their use of technology and sometimes theft of intellectual property. This is a whole set of concerns that require a clear-eyed, long-term strategic outlook. What we have instead is a pattern of poking them in the eye in order to see what happens. What happens is they poke back and we're all worse off.
All right, let's talk about your plans for Medicare or for health care reform in America. You've suggested something called Medicare for All who want it.
That's right.
What does that mean?
It means that we create a Medicare-like public alternative. Anybody can get it who wants it, but we do this without kicking anybody off of their private plan. This is what Americans are looking for. It challenges the healthcare industry. As a matter of fact, the healthcare lobbyists came out attacking my plan because they don't want to face that kind of competition. And yet there's an opportunity to deliver that without just saying we can throw a switch and kick 150 million Americans off their health plan, which I don't think is doable and certainly isn't doable without a middle-class tax increase.
You and I just had a really hearty conversation on climate on an historic day, that there are people around the world coming out in, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in some cases, to make their leaders understand that this is an absolute priority. Where are we on this topic?
Where we are is the tide is turning. The question is, will it happen fast enough, and what do we do to make good on it? The way that students around the world are speaking up for their futures is inspiring. Remember, this is personal. This has moved off of the textbook page into our lives. It has gone from an idea to a theory to a prediction to a reality to an emergency. The only question is whether we will continue failing to act in a way that makes this the dominant problem of the rest of my lifetime, or are we going to do something while we still have the chance? That's what this is about. We can and will compete on the technical dimensions of our respective plans among the Democrats running for president. The real issue is how are we going to get action so that this is not one more issue where the Washington debate 20 years from now resembles what it was 20 years ago.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.